देवरा अपने श्वेत हरित केसरिया रंगों के साथ जब आसमान में लहराता है तो लगता है मानो किसी नए रास्ते की तलाश में हो, नई संभावनाओं की तलाश में हो, नए विश्व की तलाश में हो। राष्ट्रपति के अंगरक्षक राजपथ से वापस जाते हुए अब ये राष्ट्रपति के प्रस्थान के समय एक बार फिर यहाँ आएंगे।
The helicopters of the Indian Air Force now, they of course will that there'll be a flower display. Air Commodore Sivaj, this is something that really attracts a lot of people to Rajpath, especially youngsters.
Yeah, it's definitely a very big show which attracts the children as well as the adults, and the precision with which these people undertake this task is really praiseworthy.
And these are those helicopters that are actually used to heli-lift men and material in extremely difficult areas and circumstances. You've done that yourself.
Certainly in high altitudes, in Siachen Glacier, all the mountainous region of Leh, Ladakh and northeast, high altitude operations. Very, very ideal and capable machines, and they have been used to their best optimum performance for the service of the nation.
Yes, and we were also seeing here Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuk. He attended the 45th National Defence College course in India in 2005. His Majesty's visit to India in February 2007 resulted in the signing of an updated friendship treaty, and Commodore Bhaskar, India-Bhutan cooperation has gone a long way even in combating terror in the region.
Absolutely, and I think, the fact that Bhutan and India enjoy this very special relationship, and as we were recalling a little while ago, the King is a graduate of the Indian National Defence College. So why I'm citing that is to say that if you look at the way in which the India-Bhutan relationship has evolved, I would suggest that it has a certain texture which could well be the kind of model that the entire neighborhood could try and aspire towards. And here I would say the responsibility lies both on India and the neighborhood. And why Bhutan is so special, I think, as far as India is concerned, is that apart from the historical inheritance that both the countries have, in the more recent period, in terms of the bilateral cooperation on every aspect, whether it is economic, whether it's political and in the security domain, we have had the kind of equitable relationship that you rarely see in any of the other bilaterals that major powers have had with smaller countries. And I think Bhutan's place is very, very special as far as the Indian state is concerned.
Indeed, having said that, I think we need to be very cautious and see that our relations with Bhutan further improve rather than just take it as it's existing. If you read some latest press reports, it indicates that Chinese are making some forays into developing relationship with Bhutan, and we need to watch out as to what are the objectives. And Bhutan, of course, is very, very special relationship with India, and I think we should only cement it further.
It needs to be cemented further on your television screens, ladies and gentlemen. Now is the parade commander. The parade commander comes first. He leads the parade. There's been a 21 gun salute. As of now, the showering of petals has taken place. It's Lieutenant General Subroto Mitra, Sena Medal, Vishesh Seva Medal, who was commissioned in the Madras Regiment. He's a graduate of the Defence Services Staff College. The parade commander has a significant role in the parade, General?
Of course, yes. He is the one who commands the parade. He commands the parade even at the Army Day. And today he commands the parade on behalf of the country and on behalf of the armed forces as GOC of Delhi area. And I think it's a great moment. Rajbir Singh is leading the parade. He's from the 3rd Gorkha Rifles and he is designated as the Chief of Staff of Delhi area, a 2nd or a 3rd generation military officer with a fantastic military bearing and an outstanding career in the army.
And Paramveer Chakra awardees coming up next. The march past has begun, the 64th Republic Day.
परमवीर चक्र और अशोक चक्र विजेता। परमवीर चक्र युद्ध में असाधारण वीरता के लिए और अशोक चक्र शांति काल में इसी तरह की असाधारण वीरता के लिए दिया जाता है। सूबेदार मेजर एवं ऑनररी कैप्टन बाना सिंह सेवानिवृत्त, नायब सूबेदार योगेंद्र सिंह यादव, हवलदार संजय कुमार, ये तीनों परमवीर चक्र विजेता, और अशोक चक्र विजेता मेजर जनरल साइरस पिठावाला, लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल जसराम सिंह, एक्स ऑनररी नायब सूबेदार चेरिंग मुतुब, मेजर डी श्री राम कुमार, श्री हुकुम सिंह, श्री गोविंद सिंह और श्री भूरेलाल।
उस देश की सरहद को कोई छू नहीं सकता जिस देश की मेहमान है आपके। अमर वीर पुत्र हो फिर के सोच लो, प्रशस्त्र गुण पंथ है, पढ़े चलो पढ़े चलो। सलामी मंच की बाईं ओर अगर हम देखें तो सलामी मंच की ओर बढ़ता हुआ पहला दस्ता 61 कैटेगरी का है। विश्व में अपनी तरह के इस एकमात्र घुड़सवार दस्ते की कमान संभाली है कैप्टन अर्पित राठी ने। अश्वशक्ति यशोबल यानी अश्वशक्ति हमेशा सर्वोत्तम के आदर्श मानने वाली इस कैटेगरी के जवानों ने 39 युद्ध सम्मान, एक पद्मश्री, एक सर्वोत्तम जीवन रक्षा मेडल, 10 अर्जुन सम्मान और 5 विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल सहित अनेक सम्मान प्राप्त किए हैं। प्रांतीय अश्वरोही दलों का विलय करके गठित इस रेजिमेंट ने इतिहास में अंतिम निशाना के तहत फिलिस्तीन के हाइफा बस्ती में विश्व में अपना नाम रोशन किया।
And this is the contingent of the 61 Cavalry, the only horse cavalry regiment in the world, led by Captain Arpit Rathi. This regiment saw the last recorded cavalry charge in Haifa in 1918. Ashva Shakti Yashobal, horsepower forever, supreme, their motto. And this is the rumble of nearly 50 tons of metal on Rajpath. Captain Ajay Kumar of 75 Armoured Regiment leading the main battle tank Arjun. 120mm rifle gun, 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun and coaxial 7.62mm machine gun. Accurate, fast target acquisition capability in all types of weather. And this is the APC ambulance tract led by Captain Yogesh Kukreja of 333 Field Hospital Ambulance. Inbuilt medical facilities including continuous ECG monitoring, a ventilator.
61 Cavalry, General Shankar Prasad just went by. You have the main battle tank Arjun. Are these just ceremonial Rajpath displays? Do we have any role for 61 Cavalry in today's day and age?
Well, let me make it very clear. Basically, 61 Cavalry is a ceremonial unit. However, because they are mounted horses, they've also got an operational role in the plains of Punjab and in Rajasthan. They do hinterland patrolling, and they have been meshed into the operational plans of the pivotal holding codes in the western frontier.
Okay, and coming up next on our television screens is the supersonic cruise missile, the BrahMos. Commodore Uday Bhaskar, 2 Shaurya Chakra, 2 Sena Medal, Chief of Staff Commendation Card. BrahMos is something that India can be very proud of.
Yes, I think if you look at India's own track record in terms of the indigenous effort, BrahMos is definitely one of the areas where the cooperation with the Russians has been very, very productive. To that extent, yes, I think we can take a certain degree of legitimate pride. But if we were to place this in that larger context, Gaurav, that we spoke about, which is the stock taking, I think India's entire indigenous effort, and the way in which we have been able to make strides in certain areas, but regrettably not in others. That is where I think we need that kind
Absolutely,
of
much to be desired. On our television screen, the Pinaka multi-rocket launcher system, multi-rocket launcher system made by Larsen and Toubro, designed by Armament Research and Development Establishment. How good are the Pinakas, sir?
Well, Pinakas are, I can't say the state-of-the-art equipment available today, but nevertheless it is fulfilling the gap, and there are some new weapons under consideration by the service headquarters, and I think sooner than later these will be replaced by some more modern weapons. But having said that, the void today is being filled by these weapons.
Okay, this is the Pinaka multi-barrel rocket launcher system. Sarvatra Izzato Iqbal is the war cry of the regiment. Bolo Durga Mata ki Jai is what these soldiers say. It's Lord Shiva's bow, Pinak, that these people carry. And on your television screen, the chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear recce vehicle, that's on the system. And the Sarvatra bridge system. The Sarvatra bridge system actually helps the tanks go through very difficult areas, General.
Yes, of course. And our troops, the Corps of Engineers, are so extremely well trained that in pitch dark nights, depending upon the span to be covered, these people can lay this bridge across in a matter of some hours, and an armored formation can be permitted to cross. And in a classic battle, the armored regiments and the armored brigade can break out from the bridgehead so formed by the infantry. This is a very important part of our tactical plan in any plains warfare.
On your television screen now, 3 advanced light helicopters of Army Aviation. The formation is flying at 150 kilometers per hour at the height of just 60 meters, led by Colonel Srini Sohal. These ALH, Air Commodore Sivach, play an extremely important role in combat.
Advanced light helicopter, the
Lieutenant Ankita Darbe ke
manufactured by the HAL, is one of the most sophisticated helicopters ever built in the country, and it compares very well with the other helicopters around the world of the same class, and it's definitely going to play a very, very significant role. Army has got ALS helicopters. The Air Force also is going for these helicopters, and with glass cockpit and modern navigation aids, it's going to be a very, very potent platform, both during peace as well as war.
Okay, Commodore Bhaskar, as we look at these military weapons that are coming on Rajpath, we'll be looking at INS Vikramaditya in a while from now. We're looking at the missiles, we're looking at the aircraft. Gives the country a reason to be proud of, or are we also saying it's high time we increase the pace of modernization and keep up with the world to be a power to reckon with?
Absolutely. I would second fully the second part of the statement, which is that while there is cause, I would say, for justifiable pride in terms of the profile of the Indian military as an institution, if you were to actually look at the fine print, in many of the critical areas, we are still dependent on imports. And I think that is the area where the country needs to take a call about the pace of modernization of the Indian military machine. I'm sure at some point we'll draw attention to the fact that the Bofors remains a symbol of the inability of the Indian collective to take a decision and ensure that modernization keeps pace. And let me add in the same breath that the indigenous effort of the entire Indian defense industry also needs a very objective review. And beyond the parade, as the country moves to the next session of Parliament, I do hope that some of these issues receive the kind of, I would say, informed, objective, non-partisan kind of attention that they deserve. Otherwise, the country will be misled into thinking that we do have the kind of capabilities that we perhaps actually do not, which is that our import dependence in critical areas is of a magnitude that leaves a lot to be desired. Gaurav, very quickly, if I may add, I want to draw attention to the Marshal of the Air Force, Arjun Singh. I saw him a couple of times on the screen, and I thought it's yet another, shall we say, moment of inspiration. That here you have India's only 5-star military officer, the Marshal of the Air Force, Arjun Singh. And to see him on the parade, I think, is a fantastic source of inspiration for all of us.
Gaurav, I think the answer lies in we have to invest more in the core research and development.
Yes.
While the DRDO may be doing whatever activity they do, but I think the nation needs to focus more on the research and development of core issues
And the
so
first
that some
marching contingent
worthwhile
is of the
development of
mechanized
weapons
infantry.
and armaments can take place.
Indeed, and look at these
Tomorrow's
brave
regiment
jawans
in
of the
today's army.
Indian Army, the Maratha Light Infantry, the Ladakh Scouts, the Gurkhas, the Dogras, the Garhwalis, they're all coming forward, they're all marching down Rajpath, and they'll march down all the way from Rajpath up to Red Fort. Let's enjoy the sight.
भारत पाक युद्ध के बाद भारतीय सेना की पहली सेना को करने के लिए आला दर्जे वक्त पर गाड़ियां हथियारों से लैस किया गया। इस रेजिमेंट का जन्म 1979
Captain Kshitij Sen of 7th Mechanized Infantry gives the command for the salute. The motto of this regiment, Veerta aur Vishwas, war cry, Bol Bharat Mata ki Jai. And behind them, the combined bands of the Bengal Engineer Group in Centre and 6th Regimental Centre, led by Naib Subedar Sukhdev Singh. The tune, Sher-e Jawan.
General, when you look at these soldiers of the Garhwal Rifles, the Marathas, the Gurkhas, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
There's nothing more that evokes more pride into me. As you know, I served for 44 years in the infantry and retired as Director General of the infantry. We have some finest men of India. We have some of the finest regiments who are marching past the Rajpath. Both in war and in peace. And these are followed by, if I can make out, are these the grenadiers? I can't really make out. What is it here? The Ladakh Scouts. Oh yes, the Ladakh Scouts. Now the Ladakh Scouts has done absolutely fantastic service in Ladakh and elsewhere as well. And from a one unit regiment, it has now grown into many battalion regiments. It's got its own regimental center in Leh now. And the Dogras now. And the finest troops, of course, the Dogras are very famous, great soldiers. Look at the marching standard of this fantastic infantry regiment. I think they do all of us very proud and make us feel very safe, because these are the set of people who are guarding the line of control today. All this, every moment of activity that is taking place on the line of control is by these brave soldiers who are now represented here in a marching column of various regiments. And I think the nation has to be really, really very proud of these soldiers, and also the bands which belong to their own regiment. This is a band of the Sikhalai. I can see Sikhalai soldiers marching across. It makes me feel very happy to see great Indian soldiers marching past the Rajpath. And the bands, Commodore Bhaskar, have a very important role to play in the Gurkhas. And now I want to say something about the Gurkhas. If you look carefully at this marching contingent, you will find smart, brave, young soldiers of the Gurkha regiment. I think they're the 8th Gurkha Rifles. And at the back of their belts, you will see kukris. These soldiers traditionally are used to using kukris in close quarter battle and hand-to-hand combat. And they are outstanding with their kukris. Since the First World War, the enemy has been so fearful of the Gurkhas' kukris, because the last few yards, when they charge into an enemy position, they take their kukris out in one hand and a rifle in the other hand. This is the shiny 8th. They're known as the Gurkhas with the red pom-poms. And the regiment which General Manekshaw, Field Marshal Manekshaw, was the colonel of the regiment as well. And these are the soldiers who in hand-to-hand fight can behead the enemy. Of course, they will never mutilate a dead body as our opponents across the border do. Indeed, the 8 Gurkhas, this raised in 1824. Soon after its raising, the regiment spearheaded several operations. The Anglo-Burmese War 1824-25. This regiment has taken part in war in Libya, in Tobruk, in Al Alamein, and in Burma.
सूबेदार मेजर इंदर सिंह की कमान में गढ़वाल राइफल्स रेजिमेंटल केंद्र और कुमाऊं रेजिमेंटल केंद्र का संयुक्त बैंड धुन बजा रहा है विजय हिमालय। कैप्टन सौमिक कुमार गांगुली ने कमान संभाली है 8 गोरखा राइफल्स प्रशिक्षण केंद्र के इस दस्ते की। फील्ड मार्शल सैम मानेकशॉ भी इसी रेजिमेंट से थे। रेजिमेंट का युद्ध घोष जय महाकाली आयो गोरखाली।
खेलों के क्षेत्र में अपनी योग्यता का प्रदर्शन करते हुए रेजिमेंट से 1 अर्जुन पुरस्कार प्राप्त किया और ओलंपिक 2012 में 3 सैनिकों ने देश का प्रतिनिधित्व भी किया।
Captain Vaibhav Prakash Chitre of AOC Center, Secunderabad. Leading the Army Ordnance Corps. And behind Captain Chitre are 2 lady officers, Captain Deepika Rathore, who incidentally successfully scaled Mount Everest last year, and Lieutenant Anika Kumari. Combined band of Ladakh Scouts Regimental Center and 58th Gorkha Training Center. Marching smartly, the Territorial Army contingent, led by Captain Akashdeep Singh Grewal.
Bandmaster Chief Petty Officer Ramesh Chandra Katoch, musician class 1 के
General Shankar Prasad, this is your regiment. This is the Punjab regiment that's marching past Rajpath now.
Well, it's such a pride to see my regiment march past the Rajpath. This is in fact the TA battalion of the regiment. As you know, this is the senior most infantry regiment of the Indian Army. We gave away the 1st battalion to make the guards the number 1. We gave the 2nd battalion to the paras to make them number 2. But essentially, the Punjab regiment is the oldest regiment of the Indian Army. And I have with great pride can say that I was lucky to be the colonel of this regiment. And I tell you, this regiment is such a fantastic regiment that it is such a pleasure to serve with it.
It indeed is. And Commodore Bhaskar, you see women power on display in the Indian Navy marching contingent here.
Absolutely, and I think it's again cause for great pride for I think the entire country, not only for this young officer from the Indian Navy, but earlier on we saw lady officers from the Indian Army also, for instance, in the Ordnance Corps. And I think again, Gaurav, coming back to the point, after 64 years, if one were to do this review, this is another indicator, I would say, of the kind of steady progress that we have made. Because symbolically, the induction of women into the Indian military is an indicator of a certain degree of redress in the gender imbalance that this country has had historically. Now, I do not want to dwell too much on the tragic developments of December last year, but I think if we talk about this at the larger national level, these are some of the areas that we need to focus on.
We indeed do, and that is INS Vikramaditya, Admiral Gorshkov. Now, this is keeping in theme with Indian Navy Maritime Power for National Prosperity. The naval tableau depicts a scaled-down model of INS Vikramaditya. This is a 45,000-ton aircraft carrier, floating airfield measuring 284 meters. Commodore Bhaskar, India needs this, but the delays are very disappointing.
Absolutely. India needs the aircraft carrier as a platform and not just one. We need at least 2 of them to be available operationally. But I think in many ways, again, the Vikramaditya symbolizes both the aspiration and the vulnerability. That for India, the aircraft carrier at the national level is a projection of India's credibility in the maritime domain. And the fact that we have been so dependent on the foreign supplier, in this case Russia, is, as I said, one more manifestation of the vulnerability. But hopefully, over the next couple of years, these gaps are going to be redressed and India would be able to project its own profile. Oh, there we go, the
And
lady
then-
officers again.
A lady officer of the Indian Air Force, Air Commodore Sivach, women power, a woman air warrior there.
Ladies are doing a great job in Indian Air Force as well. They are marching along with the men, and they are in flying, technical, administration, accounts, all the branches, and it has been a great success.
Is it then only a matter of time that you will see women as combat pilots? Let's see, should that happen? And on display now is the Indian Air Force's latest acquisition. This is the 80th year of Indian Air Force, and you see the Pilatus PC-7 Mark II trainer jet, something that the Indian Air Force desperately requires at Air Commodore Sivach.
So the long pending requirement for a very credible initial basic training aircraft, and this Pilatus is going to a very good training aircraft.
It is, and what you also see on display is the Embraer jet, the Augusta Westland AW101 VIP helicopter. You also see the C-17 Globemaster 3 along with the marching contingent. But what is something that we are all looking forward to is the Agni 5 missile, General Shankar Prasad. It's that Agni 5 missile which is going to come in a while. It's road mobile, rail mobile, DRDO's Agni 5 that gives you that
We now
feeling
have
of
the
strength.
DRDO
Indeed, it has a range of 5,000 kilometers, and I think this is going to be a major game changer in the strategic balance between us and our neighbors. And this is a great achievement.
First we have
It has been successfully
Agni 5,
tried out, and
a
today it's
missile
operational,
which is advanced,
and I think
long-range,
has really
surface-to-surface
increased the
ballistic.
strategic capability of our
It
armed
has a
forces and of
solid
our country.
propellant base.
And
It
this
takes
is a strategic game
capability
changer,
of
Commodore
launch
Bhaskar.
anywhere, in any
I would
direction,
say definitely
and
that
within
it
a few
enhances
minutes from a
India's
self-contained
credibility again.
road mobile
But
launch
even as we acquire these capabilities, whether it is the missile or it is the aircraft carrier, I think India has to do some very, very serious kind of introspection about the way in which it is going to use its military capability in the furtherance of larger national objectives. And that is where, again, I'm sorry if I sound slightly bleak on this issue, but I think at the highest levels of the management of national security, there are certain areas where we could do better. And I hope that at the end of the Republic Day celebrations, some of these issues receive the kind of attention that they do, not in the normal course. Otherwise, it becomes episodic that every January we sit down and we talk about the visible aspect of the Indian state in terms of its military muscle. But I'm not very sure if we are paying attention to the fine print. And that is why, whether it is the Agni, whether it is the aircraft carrier, whether it is the latest induction as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned, I think the ability to harmonize, the ability to arrive at the most effective cost-benefit ratios, I think these are areas that we need to do far better than what we have done till now, and I hope that will receive attention.
That is the DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, extremely crucial arm of the armed forces. That is somewhere where India needs to focus on. And on display, ladies and gentlemen, is the Airborne Early Warning and Control System, India's indigenous system with all weather, all terrain, all environment capabilities. It's a surveillance system. It's the simplest, most cost-effective airborne early warning system in the world of its class. We have the AWACS. This is also a force multiplier, Commodore.
It is, but again, Gaurav, all I want to say is that when we look at one platform like this, or for that matter, earlier when we applauded the BrahMos, we should have the ability to see this in a larger context and concurrently. Today may not be the best day to draw attention to inadequacies, but the Arjun, the main battle tank, becomes a symbol of the kind of progress we have not been able to make. And I repeat this point, that unless India introspects about the indigenous effort, unless we are able to bring in much higher levels of productivity, bring in the private sector, include the Indian academia, we would be in this very, very, I would say, vulnerable position where your critical fighting capacity is dependent upon an external supplier. Now, this is true across the board for the Indian Army, for the Indian Navy, for the Indian Air Force. And I think the DRDO and its own contribution needs to be seen in this particular light. And I do hope our Parliament, when it convenes very soon for the next session, will pay some attention to these issues, and we are not in this very anomalous situation where the elected representative looks at national security only on Republic Day. It's a
General,
strong statement,
is that
but I
a
hope
major
that is.
cause for concern? Because we are seeing that the nature of the battle is changing drastically. Battle today is not what battle was either in the Second World War or perhaps even in Kargil. The nature of the enemy is changing.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We have to see as to how the relationship with the neighbors are going to be taking shape. While we need strategic capabilities, while we need to maintain at optimum level our capability to be able to participate in a full-scale war, we have to concurrently be ready to fight a low-intensity kind of a war, which you see on the line of control these days. In the last couple of weeks, the LOC has been very active, and this is where we need to focus that the troops that are fighting on the LOC are the troops from the infantry, and they need to be modernized.
The veterans we are so proud of. These gentlemen have played a crucial role in ensuring India reached where it has. They've shed their blood, their sweat for this nation, General.
Yes, and these are the people who are setting examples for the present generation to be able to stand up and live up to the reputation and the way the armed forces are supposed to be maintaining their high standard. And every time a serving soldier or a person who wants to join the armed forces looks at these people, he feels that these are the set of people who have set standards for us, and we need to not only maintain them but take them even higher.
Let's dip in and listen in to some brilliant military music. After the ex-servicemen, you also have Border Security Force coming, the BSF marching contingent, the BSF camel contingent. Let's listen in.
डिप्टी कमांडेंट पवन कुमार के नेतृत्व में सीमा सुरक्षा बल का दस्ता सीमाओं की सुरक्षा से लेकर जम्मू और कश्मीर में आतंकवादियों की सफाई में इस बल की अहम भूमिका है।
And now coloring Rajpath with gold and grace, the BSF Camel contingent. Deputy Commandant Amol Singh Rathore, astride Sangram, is leading this contingent. These graceful and strong ships of the desert are dependable companions in inhospitable terrains of Rajasthan and Kutch.
सीमा सुरक्षा बल का एक मुख्य सदस्य संदिग्ध गतिविधियों को तस्करों और आतंकवादियों को खत्म करने में सक्रिय भूमिका निभा रहा है। मुख्य सवार दस्ता राममन से आगे की ओर बढ़ता हुआ और मधुर स्वर लहरियों का आप भी आनंद उठाएं। मुख्य सवार बैंड अब इस प्रकार पूर्ण प्राणा की अगुवाई हमें सीमा सुरक्षा बल की स्वर लहरना भी चाहिए।
And adding music to grace. Behind their contingent is the BSF Camel Mounted Band, one of its kind in the world. Bandmaster Sub-Inspector Phularam Rana is leading it. The tune Hum Hai Seema Suraksha Bal. spanning India from the Guardians of the West to the Guardians of the East. Major Vivek Sahai of 37 Assam Rifles leading the Sentinels of the Northeast, the Friends of the Hill People. The Assam Rifles Band, Warrant Officer Man Bahadur Chetri leading it. The tune, Assam Rifles के सिपाही, देश की हमने शान बढ़ाई.
डिप्टी कमांडेंट तरुण दत्त पांडे की कमान में तटरक्षक बल का मार्चिंग दस्ता, इनके साथ असिस्टेंट कमांडेंट सुनीता वेणुगोपाल और असिस्टेंट कमांडेंट पूनम थापा भी है। आदर्श वाक्य है वयम रक्षामः। जंग सिंह की अगुवाई में केंद्रीय रिजर्व पुलिस बल का ब्रास बैंड, 100 जवानों का दस्ता, सेवा भक्ति का ये प्रतीक सीआरपीएफ कहलाता है कि धुन बजा रहा है। असिस्टेंट कमांडेंट मनीष सिंह के नेतृत्व में केंद्रीय रिजर्व पुलिस बल का 148 जवानों का मार्चिंग दस्ता, ये विश्व का विशालतम अर्धसैनिक बल है।
As we speak about the paramilitary forces and the central police organizations, a big question is the changing nature of the threat India faces. And General Shankar Prasad, it's no longer a conventional military threat that India faces. It's the threat within. It's the threat of the terrorist.
Well, while we continue to face traditional threats from both the enemies, both in the north as well as in the west, we have an equally potent enemy within the country in the form of militants and terrorists. While Kashmir and Northeast has been going through this for a long time, we also now have the serious problem of the Maoists and Naxalites. And therefore, the paramilitary forces, the CRPF, and such like central police forces have a very major role to play in combating and bringing the security environment in the country at an acceptable level. Recently, if you notice, we've had a number of incidents at the Maoist and the Naxalites, where we have suffered casualties, and I think this aspect needs great attention to have internal security within limits.
Indeed it does. Commodore Uday Bhaskar, the nature of the threat is changing, and keeping in mind the changing nature of threat, once again on the 64th Republic Day, perhaps there is time, there is need for mid-course correction.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to add this, Gaurav, that when we talk about the internal challenge to the security of the nation, we have to recognize that we are now living in a very complex domain where the external permeates the internal. We are seeing that in relation to the scourge of terrorism. But let me also add that when we talk about issues like Maoism, left-wing extremism, the state also has to come under scrutiny. That many of these issues and these malignancies can be related to what I might call as the venality of the state. Meaning that for 60 years as a republic plus, that the state has not been able to live up to the spirit of the constitution. Therefore, as we now move from the military part of the parade into the other aspects, I think we need to ponder as citizens of this country that some of our human development indicators are really at the bottom of the ladder. And again, I would say that this is a reflection on the integrity of the state, on the commitment and the determination of the elected representatives and the bureaucracy that it spawns in terms of discharging the obligations that derive from the Constitution, unless we accept that and say that in many areas we still behave like a colonial state. To my mind, that is the greater challenge, that whether we talk about gender, whether we talk about the socio-economic deprivation, there is the need for a certain mindset that we need to address. Otherwise, I fear that we might be carried away by what I would call as the visible aspect of many aspects of the national profile.
And that desperately, whether it's the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, or other ministries that looking at developments, Air Commodore Sivaj, they need to be on the same page, because recently we've seen that these anti-national elements, they are gaining in power. They're even targeting the state security forces in terms of air power that we carry.
A number of unfortunate incidents have occurred where these Maoist Naxalites have fired on the helicopters. Our basic doctrine of the Indian Air Force is that we should not be firing on our own people, but that is not respected by the Maoist Naxalites. They have recently, there was a helicopter which was down in Chhattisgarh sector, and this CRPF Jawans did a very good job of retrieving that crew and the helicopter. That was a great achievement. But there's a major threat, and we need to have a revisit on the policy of not firing at all people when they are targeting helicopters.
What an impressive parade! What an impressive parade! Let's listen in to some of these marching contingents and the lovely military music on display.
असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस दीपक यादव के नेतृत्व में 6 फुट से ज्यादा ऊंचे दिल्ली पुलिस के 144 जवानों का मार्चिंग दस्ता। दिल्ली पुलिस का मार्चिंग दस्ता 1950 से गणतंत्र दिवस परेड में लगातार भाग ले रहा है और कई बार सर्वश्रेष्ठ मार्चिंग दस्ते की ट्रॉफी हासिल कर चुका है। पंजाब निदेशालय के बैंड मास्टर अंडर ऑफिसर शमीम खान के नेतृत्व में 88 कैडेटों का अलग अलग प्रांतों का मिला जुला बैंड कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा की धुन बजाते हुए सीनियर अंडर ऑफिसर योगेश स्वामी की कमान में एनसीसी के सीनियर डिवीजन के 148 कैडेटों का मार्चिंग दस्ता। अच्छा आचरण, सामुदायिक विकास में रुचि, कुशल नेतृत्व क्षमता और रोमांचक अभियानों के प्रति दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति एनसीसी की विशेषता है।
अंडर ऑफिसर रिद्धि मोदी की अगुवाई में एनसीसी छात्राओं का बैंड ये संदेश दे रही हैं कि हमारी बेटियां किसी से पीछे नहीं। बैंड पर धुन है, हम होंगे कामयाब। सीनियर अंडर ऑफिसर शालिनी जोशी की कमान में राष्ट्रीय कैडेट कोर सीनियर डिवीजन की 148 लड़कियों का मार्चिंग दस्ता। ये कैडेट पर्वतारोहण, ग्लाइडिंग और रिवर राफ्टिंग अभियानों में भाग लेते रहते हैं। 8 रेजिमेंटल सेंटर बरेली के बैंड मास्टर सूबेदार मेजर बनवीर कुमार के नेतृत्व में पाइप और ड्रम बैंड ये धुन बजा रहा है फूलों की घाटी।
राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना में अब तक 37 लाख से ज्यादा स्वैच्छिक कार्यकर्ता शामिल हुए हैं और 15,000 से ज्यादा और 10,000।
हरिओम यादव की कमान में राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना यानी एनएसएस का मार्चिंग दस्ता, जिसमें 160 स्वयंसेवक हैं। महात्मा गांधी के जन्म शताब्दी वर्ष 1969 में गठित एनएसएस में अब तक 37 लाख से ज्यादा कार्यकर्ता शामिल हो चुके हैं।
And now for cultural extravagance. The tableaus leading them West Bengal with the theme Khesar and the tableau minimizes West Bengal's humble tribute on the 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, the thinker, patriot, Sri